The bride was about to walk down the aisle, but she had no idea that the man she loved was hiding a terrible secret. As the music played, Emily took a deep breath, her heart racing with excitement. It should have been the happiest moment of her life. But in the shadows, something was off. The groom, Andrew, was standing at the altar, dressed in his suit, but his face betrayed no joy. No one could have predicted the chaos that was about to unfold. The wedding day that should have been filled with celebration, love, and promises for the future was about to crumble into heartbreak. How could a day meant to join two souls in love turn into a nightmare, shattering everything Emily had dreamed of? The truth would soon surface, and it would change their lives forever. Meet Emily, the bride, a kind-hearted woman who has spent her life dreaming of this day. Growing up, she always imagined marrying a man who would be her rock, her partner in every sense of the word. And when she met Andrew, a successful businessman with a charming smile and an ambitious drive, she believed she had found the one. Their love story seemed perfect: long walks in the park, dinners by candlelight, and promises of forever. Andrew had swept her off her feet with his confidence and caring nature, making her believe that nothing could ever tear them apart. Their families were thrilled about the upcoming wedding. Emily's parents beamed with pride, excited to see their daughter marry the man of her dreams. Andrew's family shared in the joy, eager to welcome Emily into their fold. To outsiders, it seemed like the perfect match. Everything about this day was supposed to be a fairy tale. Little did Emily know, the man standing beside her at the altar had a dark secret he had been hiding from her, and the rest of the world. The moment Emily stepped into the chapel, her heart swelled with happiness. She could feel all eyes on her as she walked down the aisle, the soft music accompanying her every step. Her dress shimmered in the light, and she couldn't help but smile, feeling like the luckiest woman alive. But as she made her way toward Andrew, something felt off. There was a tension in the air, like a storm brewing just out of sight. The smiles of the guests felt strained, their eyes darting nervously between one another. As she approached the altar, Emily noticed Andrew's best man, Jake, looking uneasy. His eyes flicked back and forth nervously, his face pale. Meanwhile, Sarah, Emily's maid of honor, appeared distracted, glancing around the room with a faraway look in her eyes. Emily caught her gaze for a brief moment, but Sarah quickly looked away, avoiding any direct eye contact. Despite the unusual behavior, Emily tried to focus on Andrew, who was standing at the altar waiting for her. He smiled, but there was something missing. A warmth that she had always seen in his eyes was gone. Her family, seated in the front row, exchanged glances, clearly noticing the strange atmosphere as well. They tried to brush it off as pre-wedding jitters, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. As the officiant began to ask for the vows, an unexpected disruption occurred. The quiet hum of the ceremony was shattered by the sudden vibration of a phone ringing. The best man, Jake, discreetly reached into his pocket, his face instantly going pale as he read the message that had come through. The smile that had briefly appeared on Andrew's face disappeared as he looked over at Jake, his expression clouded with worry. The air in the room shifted. The once peaceful and joyous atmosphere turned tense as whispers rippled through the guests, unsure of what was happening. Emily, still glowing with excitement, tried to ignore the unease creeping into the air. She thought it was just nerves. After all, the groom had to be feeling some pressure. But as she glanced at Andrew, she saw him struggling to maintain composure, his hands shaking slightly as he reached for her. The nervousness was becoming more obvious with each passing second. Andrew tried to put on a brave face, but his behavior became increasingly erratic. It was clear to Emily that something was terribly wrong, and her excitement began to fade as her gut told her this was more than just wedding jitters. Later, at the reception, the festivities should have been in full swing, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply off. As she walked through the crowd, she overheard a conversation between Andrew and Jake that stopped her dead in her tracks. Standing just behind a pillar, Emily could hear the urgency in their voices. "Andrew, we can't keep this quiet any longer." Jake's voice was low, but laced with panic. "If she finds out now, it'll be worse for her. You're dragging her into this mess." Emily's breath caught in her throat as she strained to listen further. "I never wanted her to be involved," Andrew replied, his voice cracking with desperation. "But it's too late. She's already part of it. I'm just trying to protect her. We'll figure this out. She doesn't need to know the full truth." Emily's heart raced. The words felt like a knife through her chest. The truth. Andrew had been hiding something massive from her. He was involved in a major financial scandal, one that was much larger than she could ever have imagined. Her world spun as she tried to comprehend what she was hearing. Without thinking, Emily confronted Andrew right there, her voice shaking with disbelief. "What is going on, Andrew?" she demanded, her hands trembling. Andrew's face drained of color as he realized she had overheard everything. He stammered, trying to justify himself, but Emily was no longer listening. The truth was out, and her dream wedding had just crumbled into a nightmare. The weight of the revelation hit Emily like a freight train. The man she had loved, the man she had planned to spend her life with, had lied to her on the most important day of her life. Her mind raced, trying to process the magnitude of what she had just learned. Betrayal coursed through her veins, and her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. Andrew attempted to explain, but his words fell on deaf ears. "I did it to protect you, Emily," he pleaded, his voice laced with guilt. "I never wanted you to get caught up in this. I thought I could handle it, but Emily couldn't hear him anymore. All the promises, all the love they had shared felt meaningless now. How could she have been so blind? How could she have trusted him so completely, only to be deceived in the most devastating way? Her family rushed to her side, offering words of comfort, but it was clear the damage was done. There was no fixing this, no healing from the pain he had caused. Guests who had once celebrated with joy now looked at the scene with disbelief, whispering among themselves as the reception descended into chaos. As the night wore on, Emily stood alone, her wedding dress now feeling like a symbol of all her broken dreams. Guests started to leave, unable to witness the emotional wreckage. The one person who should have been there to protect her had betrayed her in the worst possible way, and Emily was left standing at the altar, heartbroken and devastated. The day had reached its breaking point. Emily stood face to face with Andrew, her heart still raw from the betrayal she had uncovered. "Tell me why, Andrew," she demanded, her voice cold but steady. "Why would you lie to me like this? Why would you ruin everything?" Andrew's eyes were filled with regret as he stepped toward her, his voice trembling. "Emily, please. I never meant for any of this to happen. I wanted to protect you. I thought I could fix it before you found out. But Emily cut him off. "You thought you could fix it? You thought you could hide this from me forever?" Her voice cracked with anger and hurt. "No, Andrew. You've destroyed everything. Our future. Our love. All of it. You don't deserve my forgiveness." She took a deep breath, her tears threatening to spill over, but she held them back. "It's over. I can't do this anymore." Without another word, she turned and walked away, leaving Andrew standing alone amidst the ruins of what was once supposed to be the happiest day of their lives. In the days that followed, Emily replayed every moment of the wedding, every whispered conversation, and every lie Andrew had told. It was hard to come to terms with how quickly everything had fallen apart, how one man's secret could destroy her entire future. But as she reflected, something shifted within her. The heartbreak was still raw, but Emily began to realize that she deserved so much more than the lies and betrayal Andrew had given her. She deserved a love that was built on trust, not deception. The woman she was before would have never walked away. But now she saw herself in a new light, a woman who knew her worth. Andrew, meanwhile, was left to face the consequences of his actions. His life, once so carefully controlled, was now in chaos. The lies he had woven would catch up with him, and there was no escaping the fallout. For Emily, the road ahead would be painful, but she knew she would heal. She was stronger now, more determined to build a future without the shadow of betrayal hanging over her. The journey would take time, but she was ready to move forward, knowing that someday she would find the love and peace she truly deserved.